At the edge of a dry forest in central India, a tigress moves silently through grass still wet with morning dew. She has hunted through most of the night, but every trail has ended in dust, broken branches, and fading scent. Hunger now tightens her movements. She no longer searches the forest casually. Every sound ahead could mean another chance to feed. Beyond the trees, a herd of wild buffalo crosses an open meadow toward a shrinking pool left by the monsoon. Most of the herd moves quickly, keeping their bodies close together and their horns facing the uncertain grass around them. But one buffalo falls behind. Her steps are heavy, her breathing uneven, and her swollen belly swings with every stride. To the tigress, isolation is opportunity. A buffalo separated from the herd is far easier to test than a wall of horns. She lowers her body and begins moving along the tree line, placing each paw between dry leaves to avoid making a sound. The wind blows from the herd toward the forest. Their scent reaches her clearly, while her own remains hidden behind the grass. At first, the choice seems obvious. The slow buffalo is tired, exposed, and drifting farther from the protection of the group. The tigress follows in a wide curve, waiting for the distance between the mother and the herd to grow even larger. But the buffalo is not wounded. There is no blood on her legs, and no weakness caused by an injured hoof. Her difficulty comes from something else. She is carrying a calf, and the birth may be only days away. The tigress cannot understand pregnancy as a human would, but scent and movement reveal that this animal is not behaving normally. She smells the physical changes in the buffalo and watches the careful way the mother protects her heavy abdomen from uneven ground. For a moment, the tigress stops. Her ears remain forward, but the muscles prepared for the first rush slowly relax. The buffalo continues toward the water, unaware that the predator is now less than 30 meters behind the nearest cover. A myna bird suddenly rises from the grass. The buffalo turns, staring directly toward the place where the tigress has disappeared. She cannot see the striped hunter, but she knows the meadow is no longer empty. Her pace immediately begins to change. The mother tries to close the distance to the herd, yet each hurried step places greater strain on her already exhausted body. The tigress moves again. She slips between two bushes and reaches a low ridge overlooking the buffalo's path to the water. From this position, one short charge could bring her alongside the mother before the rest of the herd understood what was happening. Still, she waits. A healthy adult buffalo can break a tiger's ribs with one turn of its horns. For a solitary hunter, even a small injury can become a death sentence when it prevents another hunt for many days. The tigress studies the buffalo's stride, searching for the exact moment when fear, fatigue, and poor balance overlap. The buffalo suddenly stops. Instead of running, she turns sideways and places her swollen body behind the curve of her horns. She has finally found the predator. A low, warning breath leaves her nostrils as she stares into the grass. The tigress steps into view. For several seconds, neither animal moves, and the open ground between them becomes completely still. The buffalo is frightened, but fleeing would expose her back and force her unborn calf against the weight of a desperate sprint. She holds her position. Her head remains low, and every movement of the tigress is answered by a turn of her horns. The tigress takes one step forward. The buffalo stamps the ground, throwing dust into the warm air between them. This is no easy target. The mother is slower than the others, but she is also prepared to fight without retreating. The tigress circles left, looking for an angle beyond the horns. The buffalo pivots carefully, refusing to reveal her side. Another step follows, then another. The predator is close enough to attack, yet the final burst still does not come. Perhaps the unusual scent makes her cautious. Perhaps the buffalo's condition changes the way its size and strength must be judged. Or perhaps the tigress is simply waiting for fear to force the mother into making the first dangerous mistake. Behind them, the leading buffalo have reached the pool. Most lower their heads, but one adult female remains alert. A faint warning call crosses the meadow. The watchful female raises her head and looks back toward the missing member. She sees the mother standing alone. Then a striped shape moves through the grass, only a few body lengths away. The alarm spreads instantly. Heads rise across the pool, and the herd turns toward the confrontation at the forest edge. The tigress hears the first heavy hoofbeats. Her ears rotate backward, but her eyes remain fixed on the pregnant buffalo. This may be her last moment to attack before one isolated animal becomes part of an organized defense. She crouches lower. Her shoulders rise above the grass, and the buffalo braces as though the charge has finally begun. But instead of leaping, the tigress pauses again. The sound behind the buffalo is growing louder with every second. 3 adults arrive first. They do not run past the mother. They stop beside her and immediately face the predator. 2 more buffalo close in from the right, while younger animals remain behind the largest members of the herd. Within moments, the pregnant female is no longer alone. Dark bodies surround her, and a line of horns fills the meadow. The tigress walks parallel to the formation, searching for a gap. The buffalo turn together and keep their weakest member inside. Every path toward the mother now passes beneath several pairs of horns and hundreds of kilograms of charging muscle. One large bull steps forward. He swings his head once, then advances with the slow confidence of an animal backed by numbers. The tigress refuses to run. She stops, bares her teeth, and releases a low growl across the dusty ground. For an instant, the herd and the predator appear equally unwilling to surrender the space between them. Then the bull charges. The tigress springs sideways before the horns reach her and disappears into a patch of taller grass. The buffalo stop at the forest edge. They do not follow far, because dense cover would return the advantage to the tiger. Instead, they remain around the pregnant mother, breathing heavily and watching every shadow beneath the trees. The tigress reappears on a distant ridge. She sits for a moment, still observing the herd she nearly challenged. From there, the buffalo's condition is no longer important. The opportunity has vanished behind a living wall of protection. She turns away at last, not defeated by mercy, but by risk, timing, and the strength of animals acting together. Yet one question remains. Why did she hesitate when the buffalo was still alone and the path to attack remained open? No observer can know exactly what passed through the predator's mind during those silent seconds in the grass. The tigress may have detected the pregnancy and recognized that the mother moved differently from ordinary prey. She may have been confused by the scent, cautious of the horns, or unwilling to gamble after a night without success. What looked like compassion may have been calculation. In nature, restraint often protects a hunter as surely as strength. But that hesitation changed everything. It gave the herd time to notice, return, and place the vulnerable mother at its center. As evening approaches, the buffalo leave the water and move toward safer ground beneath a stand of open trees. The pregnant female walks among them now. She is still slow, but every side of her body is guarded. The tigress follows another trail into the forest, where deer tracks cross the damp earth beside a narrow stream. Her hunger has not disappeared. The hunt has only changed direction, as it must for every predator that survives. Days later, the buffalo gives birth within the shelter of the herd, and a small calf struggles onto uncertain legs. Its first steps are possible because its mother survived an encounter that ended before the first strike was made. The tigress never saw that calf. She did not spare it knowingly, and the forest offers no proof of human-like kindness. Still, for one brief morning, a predator's hesitation and a herd's loyalty protected 2 lives instead of 1. In the wild, survival is not always decided by the fastest attack or the strongest animal on the field. Sometimes it depends on a pause, a warning carried across the grass, and a herd that chooses to turn back.